Walter White is one of the most overrated characters in television history. Let me explain. This video is gonna have no cuts, no script, no nothing. This is straight from the dome. I have literally ranted to my wall for hours about how fucking shit of a character Walter White is. And yet, he never gets hated on. He never gets slack. He never gets nothing. Because ultimately, without him, there's no fucking drama in the show. I've watched Breaking Bad twice. The first time I watched Breaking Bad, Walter White, amazing character, amazing guy, center of the show. You're rooting for him. You want him to succeed with this fucking crime enterprise. You like him. The second time you watch the show, you realize how fucking boring of a character this guy is. He's literally a grown-up baby. There's no other way to explain it. A grown-up baby with a chemistry degree, that is all the guy is. There's no fucking character development, no intelligence. I don't give a fuck what you think. Walter White is not a smart character. He never was a smart character. I'll get into it. There's just so much fundamentally disgusting with this guy's character. And it's not even like, guys, I'm not saying that Walter White is a bad guy. No fucking shit. I'm saying that the people that wrote his character did not put enough effort into him. They didn't. Because direct comparison to Sopranos, because let's be real, Breaking Bad, anti-villain trope, family dynamic is very similar to Sopranos. Very, very similar. But even Tony Soprano, who is just as evil, if not way more evil, way more everything than Walter White, he is objectively a 10 million times better written character. He is literally one of the best written characters in television history. I think he is the best, in my opinion. Tony Soprano is the best protagonist ever written in the history of the world. Okay, but that's just glaze. All right, there's probably some other good candidates. Walter White's one of the worst protagonists ever in the world because they just tried copying Tony Soprano, but they didn't realize that you need the fucking intricacies. You need some sort of backstory, some sort of explanation, some sort of development to understanding the character. They just gave us Walter White and said, have fun with this fucking Can't say that. Guys, I'm telling you, I fucking hate this guy with a passion. I don't even hate him. I hate whoever wrote him, whoever created the concept of Walter White. The fuck is that name? His name's already cooked. Let me start. Walter White, from the start of the show, every fucking conflict in this show comes from this motherfucker. That's all he does is create conflicts. There's so many examples that I can come up with. I mean, you can't really blame him for the plane situation. That's just kind of like a weird coincidence. But the one that really pisses me off the most is season 4, right? Gustavo Fring, my guy, genuinely my guy. Gustavo Fring is such a lovely character. Such a fun guy to watch. Let's be real. When Gustavo Fring's on screen, you pay attention. Let's be real. Okay, my guy Gustavo Fring, he has to deal with this fuck-ass Walter White, right? Walter White's a retard. Like, I just said I wasn't gonna say that, but whatever. Walter White's a stupid guy, right? Doesn't really like listening to people, doesn't like taking orders. He wants to be independent. I appreciate that thought, right? He wants to be independent. Good for him. But you don't do that in a drug fucking business. You don't do that. Like what are we talking about, man? So Gustavo Fring realizes that he has had enough of Walter White. Walter White's a dumbass. He's gonna replace Walter White with Jesse Pinkman. Jesse Pinkman's a smarter, more level-headed guy than Walter White. I mean, it kind of makes sense because Jesse's kind of been in the game. But Walter White, man, get a fucking grip, right? So Gustavo Fring takes Walter White. Spoilers, by the way, obviously. No shit. If you're watching this and you don't expect spoilers, man, you might be up there with Walter White, bro. I ain't gonna lie. So Gustavo Fring basically kidnaps the brother, takes him to the desert, puts a fucking head over, like cartel style, puts a bag over his head, and before Walter White thinks he's gonna die, right? But before Gustavo kills him or anything, Gustavo says, "This is your last warning, right? You try contacting me, try contacting Jesse, try contacting anyone from this game ever again. I will shoot you, I will shoot your wife, I'll shoot your son, I'll shoot your infant child." That's what he said, right? He's gonna go fucking crazy if Walter White comes back and does something. What does Walter Hartwell White do as soon as Gus lets him go? What does Walter Hartwell White do? What does he do? He runs to Jesse. Jesse, they want to kill my family. Jesse. Fuck this guy. They literally said, just don't go to Jesse. Just don't do anything. Leave and you're fine. Right? He goes straight to Jesse like a fucking retard. Like a retard. He's a baby. He's dumb as fuck. okay? So he goes to Jesse. He also, by the way, poisoning the child was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. I don't know how that worked. That makes no sense to me. But obviously, Jesse's very manipulatable. Fine, right? But okay, let's go back to what I was talking about. He goes, right? He goes to Jesse, cries like a bitch, gets Jesse on his side or whatever, right? Even Jesse's like, oh, if I never hear from Walter White again, I'm gonna assume you killed him, and I'm not gonna work for you. All right, that's what Jesse said, right? No product anymore. But I feel like that was such a retarded plot point as well. That makes no fucking sense because literally that same day where that desert scene happened, Walter White tries getting the Hoover Pro Extract Max 65 plus filter vacuum, whatever it's called. Walter White literally goes and tries getting that deal, right? Obviously, Ted Beneke and all that happened, so he couldn't leave. But he was literally trying to disappear from the world. He's trying to disappear as soon as Jesse's like, oh, if I never see Walter again, I'm assuming you killed him. Which makes no sense because if Walter disappeared, he would never talk to Jesse ever again. Jesse would assume that Walter died. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. That was a bad plot point. That was a bad plot point. That has nothing to do with Walter White's character. I'm gonna go back to Walter White's character. So he just like a fucking little bitch. Let's be real. Like imagine you, right? You were taken into the desert. You did some bad stuff, but you're not a bad guy. I'm not a bad guy. Sorry. You're taken into the desert. They put a bag over your head. They're about to shoot you, right? And they literally give you a conditional statement, guys. Conditional statement. If you do this, if you satisfy the fucking condition, then we shoot you. But if you don't, then you're fine, right? If. So Walter White doesn't know what that is. He doesn't know what a fucking conditional statement is, does he? So if you were in that situation and you had the threat of dying, all you had to do was not do anything. Don't do anything. You made millions of dollars. Don't do anything and you survive. Are you gonna do something? Yes or no? No, you're not. Because you're fucking smarter than Walter White. He's a retard. He's a retard. Sorry, I can't say that. When I say retard, I don't mean it in an offensive way. It's just something that's in my vocabulary that I'm trying to eliminate. I apologize. So he creates conflicts for no reason. He has an amazing habit of doing this. Every single time there's a conflict in the show, it's him. I don't give a fuck who you are. He had no reason to kill Jane. There was no reason, not a single reason to kill Jane. And he's like, you know what? Fuck it, bro. Let's kill her. Let's kill her. It's gonna make Jesse into a better person. Bro, send this guy 2 years Dagestan. I fucking hate Walter White. There's nothing logical in his brain. The only like smart things he does, right? Like let's note down the only intellectual things Walter White does, right? One thing he does is man, it's hard to think of stuff. He cooks good meth. Cooks amazing meth. Best in the world, right? Amazing like 99% purity or whatever. Amazing chemist, no doubt. He created that engineering contraption in the final episode. Let's be real, that was some pure plot armor bullshit. The Walter White I know doesn't know how to fucking screw in a screw. He's retarded, right? That was some plot armor bullshit. I don't know where they're like, let's be real. Even the contraption working in the way it did where it killed everyone is some bullshit. Like, let's be real, bro. Imagine they're on the second floor of a house. They're dead. And let's be real. The fact that Jack, after like a year, is still in the same place, in the same house, with the millions of dollars that he has, is stupid. Let's be real, it's just stupid. He's a neo-Nazi, bro. He's gonna do something with that money. He's gonna start a genocide. He's gonna like, he's not just gonna sit on his ass with millions of dollars. It just doesn't make any sense, right? But the main problem that I have, the reason why I keep talking about the writers, is that they talk about, oh, Walter White, you're the smartest guy I know. You're the smartest this, you're the smartest that. Oh, are you a professor at a university? They hype him up like he's something so special, right? We don't know what happened with Gray Matter. We don't know what happened, like why he kind of left, right? But let's say he leaves this startup. He doesn't know how big the startup will be, but you know, he has aspirations. He has these dreams and stuff. Why does he choose to be a high school teacher? There are other options. New Mexico has a university. This guy didn't want to be a professor? This guy didn't try? He's a bitch. He's literally a bitch. And that's obvious. At the start of the show, Walter White is a bitch. That's just what they want you to think, right? But he's a bitch at the end of the show as well. He didn't change. There's no progression in this guy's character. Obviously Heisenberg, right? You're gonna talk about Heisenberg. Oh, he turned into Heisenberg. Heisenberg's so cool. Season 5 is the only time where Heisenberg really exists, right? Season 5 is the only time Heisenberg really exists. And in season 5, the only cool parts about Heisenberg was him copying Gustavo Fring. Literally just copied Gustavo Fring. He replaced Fring because he's the one that killed Fring. It was, let's be real as well, killing Gustavo Fring was the dumbest fucking thing in the world. Gustavo Fring didn't care about him. He literally, Walter White didn't even cross Gustavo's consciousness. The only reason why there were people stalking Walter's house is because Walter created that fucking conflict. And at the same time, of course you'd put people at his house because you know the guy's retarded, right? You need to watch him. You need some sort of surveillance. Like, that shit's just obvious. Okay, going back to Heisenberg. Literally, season 5 is the only time Heisenberg's redeemable because he copied Gustavo Fring. So if anything, that just shows you how good of a character Gustavo Fring was, and filling in his shoes was what Heisenberg had to do, right? Let's go back to when Heisenberg first started. Season 1, I think, where he throws that fucking, that chemistry bomb bullshit, right? And it creates this huge loud noise, and the fucking windows break and everything, right? That was the most retarded thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh yeah, let me go to a crackhead, a fucking meth head's house, right? A meth head's crib, his place of operation. Let's go to his house, throw a fucking bomb on the floor, create some smoke, blow up his fucking windows. Yeah, that's gonna work. Why did that work? The reason why it worked is because Tuco is such a, he's like meth head is here, right? A meth head would kill him immediately, but Tuco's a meth supreme max. He's like a meth premium, right? Meth head premium. So Tuco obviously is like, oh, that's so funny, and then he lets Walter live. But realistically, Walter should have died right in that moment. The entire show ends. I would have been so happy, bro. Can I be honest? I like Breaking Bad. I think it's a good show. I think the ending is peak, and that's kind of what the show built up to the ending. But the first 4 seasons are literally just Walter White being a fucking hooligan. There's nothing enjoyable about it. If you watch the show for the first time, then you like the drama, you like everything, you get it, right? It's literally just entertainment. But the creators of the show watched the show multiple times to try creating this perfect show. They watched it so many times, and not once did they think, is Walter White a bad character? Because yes, he is. He is a bad character. I rewatched the show like a couple months ago, but when I rewatched the show, by the way, I rewatched Breaking Bad because I thought it would relate to chemistry, because I'm taking chemistry in university, and it had no correlation at all. I literally just wasted hours of my life for fun, and I'm okay with it. So, damn, bro. All right, so I'm talking about Walter White. I'm talking about the stuff like that. Okay, yeah. So you watch the show multiple times. When you rewatch the show, right? So creators will watch it multiple times, but I've only watched it twice. The second time I watched the show, I kind of understood the conflicts that were about to happen, right? Like season 3 starts, you see the snippet of the plane crash. You already know the plane crash is gonna happen, but you want to see how it builds up to that point. How does it build up to that point, right? So you're watching and you're trying to remember stuff, right? Because I watched it, the first time I watched it was like years ago, so I'm remembering stuff, right? But I don't actually have it fresh in my memory. I don't remember everything. So I see the conflicts happening from the start. I see how they start, how they end. The Gale scene, the Gale Bedecker scene, I see how it starts, how it ends. My guy literally created every conflict in the show. He created every fucking conflict. It's genuinely infuriating. It's so infuriating. There's nothing, if Walter White didn't exist, Breaking Bad would be so peak. And the reason why I'm talking about this, the reason why I'm creating this rant, is because Walter White has this credibility of being a likable character. He's not a fucking likable character. People talk about Skyler White being the worst in the show. People make fun of Walter Jr. Walter Jr. is literally such a normal guy. He's such a chill guy. And if anything, I like Walter Jr. more than I like Tony Soprano Jr., more than I like Anthony. Because Anthony kind of didn't do anything ever, right? Let's be real, bro. My guy Flynn made an entire website back in like 2004 that like asked for donations for his thing. He got on the news. Man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Flynn Jr. was very fucking respectable. He was a very, very likable character. When Walter fights with Skyler, Flynn defends Skylar despite calling her a bitch all these seasons. Defends Skylar. What a good guy, man. I ain't gonna lie. Shout out to my boy Flynn. Let's talk about Skylar, right? And let's be real. Look at Flynn's condition. He goes through so much abuse and shit, and he's still such a likable guy. Like, genuinely. Let's talk about Skylar. Skylar gets so much hate. I ain't gonna lie, that one scene where she was singing to Ted, I skipped it. I couldn't do it. It was too much. It was too unbearable, right? But realistically, you cannot blame Skylar for anything that she does. She always did the right thing in the show. She always tried to do the right thing. She's not the smartest, right? But she didn't know that she would marry a fucking meth mastermind. You can't blame her for anything she does. She didn't deserve any of this. She literally did not deserve any of this. And she realized, once she realized that Walter White has ruined the family, once she realized that her son is gonna live the rest of his life without a father, right? Because that's what Walter basically did. She realized that she has to side with Walter. She has to help Walter, but she hates Walter. Of course she hates Walter. She tried killing herself because of Walter. Because Walter is a fucking loser. He literally never realized how evil he was throughout the show. And he literally has been evil since season 1. He didn't get worse. He was always this bad. He just never had, you know what I mean? Like, you know when they talk about, you don't know how bad you are until you're tested, right? You don't know who you are until you're tested, right? Walter White wasn't tested early on. He was tested later on when he had the choice of, you know, killing Todd when Todd killed the child, or getting rid of Todd. Nah, let's keep Todd. He did the right thing. You have to think about it, Jesse. Jesse, think about it realistically. The kid was a liability. Like, bro, shut the fuck up. He's retarded. He's so stupid. He's so stupid. Let's talk about Better Call Saul, because I'm watching that show right now. I really like it. It's a really good show. It is pretty slow, but I think Breaking Bad is also really slow at the start. Breaking Bad only gets good season 5. Let's be real. Better Call Saul only gets good. I think honestly, Better Call Saul season 1, 2, and 3 were alright. I think season 1 was actually pretty surprisingly good. I'm also rewatching Better Call Saul as well because I'm a loser. But Better Call Saul season 1 was alright. It was better than I expected on the rewatch. The first time I watched it, I was pretty bored. Said season 2 was like, it was building up to something, right? Season 3 was actually really good. It was really good. And season 150 was an amazing episode. Mike, I like Mike's arc, but whatever. We're not talking about Mike here. Although Mike did say, he literally said, Walter, you are retarded. You killed Gustavo Fring when Gustavo Fring was literally just doing everything correctly. Gustavo Fring did everything correctly until Walter White came and ruined everything. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Walter White came and ruined everything. Everything. He literally ruined the entire fucking meth empire just because he was an egotistical bitch. Let's be real. And an emphasis on the bitch, he was always a pussy. Until Gustavo died and he had to fill in Gustavo's shoes, he was always a pussy. Always. So we're talking about Better Call Saul for a bit. Season 4 was a bit boring. I'm not gonna lie, I was really bored. Because there's no main conflict that there. The only problem in season 4 is that he lost his law license, but like, who cares? It also builds up to season 5. I'm on season 5 right now. I do remember a bit of season 6, but I don't remember everything. And I remember that season 6 was the most peak fictional season I've ever seen in my life. It was so peak. But I don't remember much, which means I'm really excited to watch Better Call Saul. And that's why I like Better Call Saul. Even Breaking Bad, I was excited to get to season 5, where that's where like the stuff goes down. But Walter White is such an unbearable character. I don't know how you're supposed to go and you know, watch that shit, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I'm never gonna rewatch Breaking Bad unless I'm watching like just Ozymandias or some bullshit like that. Walter White is such a retard. He's also let's talk about Ozymandias. Fuck. Let's talk about Ozymandias. My guy literally for no fucking reason, he's like, oh my god, Hank is coming to get me. Hank is coming. Let me call a fucking neo-Nazi. Let me call a gang of neo-Nazis. That's gonna help me. Gives them the exact fucking coordinates. What a retard. He's always been this retarded. But when you put stress in his life, he is the dumbest guy I've ever seen in my life. Seriously. So stupid. He literally stole chemistry equipment from his own school. The only reason why Walter White made it this far, is because Hank is his fucking brother-in-law. If Hank was not his brother-in-law, Walter White would have died immediately. I would have been so happy. I hate how normal or how complete Walter felt when he died. I hated it. I hated how complete he felt. I liked the ending of him being next to the meth, because realistically that's kind of what shaped him, right? And I like all three main characters. Well, I don't know if people will call Saul Goodman a main character, but in Better Call Saul, I like his ending. I remember his ending. I like Jesse's ending is peak. That's one of the best. And Walter White's ending is supposed to be really satisfying, but I didn't like it at all. I wanted Walter White to get fucking beat up. I wanted Gustavo Fring to piss on Walter. No, okay, I'm bugging. Bro. I've probably been ranting for like 30 minutes. I could go on longer. You want me to go on longer? All right, let's go on longer. My guy, bro, I keep forgetting season like 2 and season 1 from the show. I think season 2 was Tuco's dead at that point. Oh no, season 2 is where Tuco dies, and then they kind of like introduce Gustavo Fring, but he's just cooking out of his van. Bro, my guy constantly berated Jesse all the time. He was a piece of shit. And then he's like, in his head, he thinks Jesse is like a son to him. Shut up, man. Jesse was such a Jesse. If Jesse realized what was going on through Walter's head, he would realize how retarded Walter White is. The only reason why he stuck with Walter White is because Walter White knew the recipe, and because Walter White was his teacher at one point. So there was that level of authority that Walter White possessed over him. But Walter White, like, I just don't get the hype. I don't get the hype, and I don't get the hate. Most importantly, on Skylar, I don't get the hate on Skylar. She was pretty cringe. She was pretty corny, but she literally did everything that she thought she could do, because realistically, she either goes to the police and ends the show quickly and ruins her life as well, or she just goes on with it until Walter dies, because that's what she wanted. She wanted Walter to die, and that's perfectly normal. It's a perfectly normal thing to want, because I want Walter to die. Fuck Walter White. Fuck Walter White. Such a bad character, man.